Okay, we're going to be painting this monastery. It's on the island of Crete, Arkadi Monastery. Um, this is actually the back view. The front view is very beautiful, has a beautiful facade, which we probably will be painting. I just chose this for the composition. Right, the palette we're going to be using will be titanium white, yellow ochre, cadmium yellow, cadmium red, burnt sienna, burnt umber, sap green, cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and viridian green. Now we're going to start off with a very quick pencil drawing. This you'll see up on the upper right corner. I'm going to keep that little thumbnail view of what we're painting just so we can kind of guide what we're doing. Um, and you guys want to follow home along, uh, definitely try it. I'll also be giving you guys the actual JPEG. So if you're watching the video and you had this, if you received the email with this link, you will have that image, okay? And you could just work off your computer or make a printout, whatever's easiest. Again, this is sort of like a trial run. This is not plein air painting because we're going to be doing this in our studios, just to kind of loosen up, to get a feel for what we are painting. Now, this is going to be oil, obviously, as the header explained and defined. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be doing a quick, like I said, a quick pencil sketch of the composition. Now, I'm going pretty much by what I see. Usually, when you are at a place and you only have, let's say, 3 hours to work in one given space, you want to make sure that you get enough information down in, say, the first 15 minutes or less, and then spend more of your time in the painting. So here we are. This is all ready to go. You'll see that I didn't really do much more. I'm taking the cerulean blue. Now, all my paints are thinned out with a thinner, the solvent. It could be uh, Gamsol, it could be terpenoid, it could be whatever turpentine or paint thinner that you have. The reasoning for this is that when we paint outside, turpentine, depending on the temperature, uh, and usually we'll probably be painting in like 75, 80-degree weather. This is going to dry very quickly. Now, this paint, this beige color that I'm putting down, again, it's very thin. You can almost see the drawing kind of ghost through. That's uh, that's yellow ochre, burnt umber, and white. This has a little bit of yellow. There's cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, and white, obviously. This has white. Most of the colors, even though they're transparent, they still have a little white in them, because I want to have like at least a little bit of opacity in this application. I am working on a MDF board, medium density fiber, I believe it's called. You could use any any kind of substrate. It could be canvas board, canvas, stretch canvas, whatever you want. Um, Now I'm going to be filling in a few more. Now here's the little planter, the vase there. I am just basically using it. I apologize for the glare, but that color in there is sort of like a dark burnt sienna and a little burnt umber. The greens that I'm adding in are sap green with a little yellow ochre. To get them a little darker, I'm using burnt umber and ultramarine blue. All I really want is a pattern. I'm not looking for any detail at this stage. I really just want to get rid of all the white, right? There's an expression that they use called killing the white, and that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to get the intrinsic colors. We're not going for any detail. It's just pattern of color. Now, I'm not saying just to paint willy-nilly outside the lines. Try to stick as close to your drawing as possible as far as like where each color and value go. Now we're going to get a little, now you can almost see the painting just had a little while to dry. That's all. And what we're seeing now is that turpentine and the paint that we used originally is set up. So I'm painting directly over that. It's not really mixing in with the paint into this application of paint. The paint is going on relatively thick and opaque. And I'm happy about that because that's what I wanted. There's also a liquid, if you guys wanted to bring along some liquid or use liquid uh, out when we're painting outdoors, that actually helps the paint dry much faster. It can almost get tacky within 20 minutes, and that would be the lighter application, that thinner application that we did in the last section of the video. Now, all I'm trying to do is get an equidistant sky. There's not really much of a gradation there. So I just want a bluebird sky, and that's what we have here. So the next coloring that we're going to be doing is, as we progress now, we're going to move into, let's see, so we have the background. Now we're going to take the same color that we used originally, which was basically titanium white, burnt umber, and yellow ochre. What we're trying to make here is a very, very light beige color. We still want to keep to the colors that we're seeing in the inset picture, right? Always refer to that, or just look to your own picture, and you'll see what we're going to be doing is we're going to be modeling the color. We're going to be adding some lighter variations of that beige and some darker variations. Now, inside those little rounded windows, you'll see that it looks a little orangey in there. Well, that's the reflective light. The sun there is really super strong, so we're going to have a lot of reflective light coming back in to a lot of these shapes, meaning the side of the building. As you can see, there's, I believe, another building to the right of the picture right composition that's echoing or just throwing in reflective light into those shadows of the main building on the right. Here, we're just adding some basic lines just to kind of give the form a little bit more stability. A little drawing we're going to be drawing a little bit more as we progress. At this stage, we're just trying to get value, not so much texture too much here. As we progress into these paintings, we will, or this painting in particular, we will be adding a little bit more. The last video, you'll see that I'll go as far as I can go within my hour. Okay, so I had to stop. Yeah, I didn't want to do any more because that wouldn't be fair to you guys, because these should be like 1 hour paintings. This board is, I don't know if I mentioned the size before, but it's 9 by 12. All right, so we have a good amount of coverage. This just happens to be an oil primed MDF board, so it has a nice buttery quality. You could use, again, like I said before, you could use canvas board, stretch canvas, acrylic primed, oil primed, doesn't really matter. Whatever you're comfortable with. I know that Beatrice does have, she has canvas, small canvas boards, which are great. They're great for packing. They won't weigh all that much. This board happens to be the hard board by Richardson and Company. This is like I said, this was a 9 by 12, and they're light, right? They're not quarter inch. Uh, the MDF board that you would get from a hardware store. These are a lot lighter. In fact, I'm going to be buying a lot of these just to have extras around for the trip. It keeps down the weight, and you can prime a ton of them, either with oil prime or oil ground, like a Gamblin oil ground is great, or just acrylic, just a good. I like to use the professional grade Liquitex. It's called a Liquitex Professional. It usually has a blue label. Make sure you get the opaque white one and not the clear if you go into a store. All right, so what are we doing? We're adding more. As I was saying before, I'm adding a little bit more. You can see almost like the color shifts a little bit in the white broad sides of the facet of those two flanking buildings, and just trying to get a little interest. You have to remember this is I don't know how old this building is, but it's old, and a lot of that uh, that Greek sun just burns the color right out of these things. So everything's going to look parched. There's going to be little color. We have to kind of play up the textures as we paint there, just to kind of create that sense of age and antiquity. Um, so uh, the architecture is beautiful. In fact, you could take little sections, and you don't have to paint the whole scene. You can paint little areas like this. What drew me to this composition? This is actually the backside of the monastery, and you'll see that when we paint the front, you'll see the facade. It's beautiful. Um, I don't know, kind of ancient Greek. It's hard to explain the architecture. To me, it looks more Spanish than anything else. But whatever the influence was, it's very beautiful in the front. It looks more like a monastery. This is kind of like the backyard. But what I liked about this was that the urn in the front, where the flowers are, the pergola, it kind of created like this sense of invitation to bring you into the picture plane, and you always want to try to find that wherever you can. And this the photograph is just did it right. Whoever took this picture kind of understood that principle. And not to say that the monastery was a second thought. It's not. It's still where it is in the picture plane. It's still the focal point. um, all right, so those little kind of scalloped shell-shaped awnings are actually, if you look at the picture close, that's terracotta, and they look like they're relatively newer. You can still see a little bit of the the coloring in there. What did I use to get that? Yellow and red. I made an orange with a little bit of yellow ochre and of course white, just to get that kind of burnt out look. Now plotting in some of the windows. Now notice that I'm not really getting too detailed. I'm just trying to get big shapes. I don't care about the window sills and the little flowers or anything in this picture. A lot of times what we can do is we can do that stuff after the fact. You know, I should have said this in the beginning, but as we paint outside, once you get the drawing done, take a picture before you start. I mean, I would always even be I would take a picture before, during, and then after, because you'll see how the light shifts on these things, and you'll see that those big shadows, the shadows on the picture right side, how you're gonna see those. It's almost gonna be like a sundial after 1 hour. Um, that depending on which direction the sun is going, that shadow could actually open up and start turning, or go out a little further and create a stronger shadow on the right side, or like I said just before, it could actually lighten up because the sun would be turning in the opposite direction. All right, so we pretty much mapped out a lot of what we saw here. So I actually made this picture a little bit bigger, so we can see a little bit more of the detail. And again, it's not really detail, but it's some of the smaller things, especially in this area here too. Um, you probably want to see a little bit more of what we're painting. If you look at the picture, there's like all these different platforms and stuff happening. I'm just massing in shapes at this point. I'm not trying to do anything that's too linear. I really just want to I'm still concentrating on the masses. Not so much the minutia for now. I just really want to get the feel. That's pretty much it. You'll see that that back wall is a little flat. And I want to try to get that shape in there. And all I'm doing is just adding bits of paint. I'm not really trying to get the values and color in one shot because, again, time is of the essence when we're out there painting. Um, you want to try to get a good, accurate estimation of the color and value so that you can speed up the process. Sometimes you have to, you can pre-mix depending on, how much paint you're going to use in one particular spot. Because we have that underpainting, we really don't have to worry about covering so much because a lot of it's already covered, right? A lot of the surface is covered up. And so here, I'm just adding a little bit more information here. The tree back there is going to be, that looks kind of like, I don't know, it could be a cypress tree, not sure. But that's going to get darker green later on. Um, we're going to see a little bit more of the foreground. Now, in the photograph, there was that little tree, like little sapling. Um, Quite frankly, I didn't really want to paint it in there. I thought it was just a little too busy. So I just painted it out. For the composition, if you wanted to move it out to the far right corner, lower corner, that would actually be a good place for that. That might balance out. I think I did put a little bit of a green um, weed over there. So here comes the foliage in the back. Um, Now this color is ultramarine blue with burnt umber and viridian green. Now the reason why I'm switching to viridian green over the sap green is because viridian green is just a darker green. And I wanted to make sure that those shadow greens are going to be nice and strong. Now I play with this. This shadow is basically the same color we use for the side of the house and the terracotta urn, which is burnt sienna white, a little yellow ochre, and a little cadmium yellow, and there is a little bit of cerulean blue. I even keep some of the sky blue around because I'll use that sky blue to cool down some of the halftones that are in the painting, or even some of the shadows for that matter. All right. So I just really want to get, again, just all I'm working on is pattern. I'm not looking at any detail. I just want big shapes. I don't want to mess around with any detail. Here, boom, just that was alizarin crimson and white, and maybe a touch of blue. That's alizarin crimson and titanium white, more titanium white than crimson, and you can see those little pink highlights in there. So depending on how much you draw in, the idea is not to draw too much information in the beginning because what'll happen is you'll feel the need to, I call it like the coloring book syndrome. If you have too much of a perfect um, drawing, that you're going to feel obliged to stay within the lines. So that's why keep your drawings very loose. I do that with my watercolor. I try not to get too specific and too detailed because then I'll feel, again, obligated to paint um, every little nook and cranny of the drawing and follow the line instead of following the patterns of the form. And that's what we're really kind of going after right now. Big patterns, try to match the colors as best you can. When you're working outside, you're going to be able to see all these colors more vividly than even the photograph, right? You're going to be seeing more darks, you're going to be seeing more halftones. Just make sure you remember to stay as true to your initial painting as possible, right? Because, or I should say, stay true to your initial wash-in as possible. So what we did earlier, just with the simple um, thin paint that we did in the first half of the video, you want to try to keep that postering. What is postering? It's the light and dark. It's just the simple shapes, very thinned out, but it gives us a blueprint to follow as we proceed with the painting. So now there are parts of this picture that are still the wash-in, but they were close to value. So we might leave them there. They might be what we see at the very end of the painting, or not, and then we could paint them out. Unfortunately, we have some glare on this thing. The urn is not that bright. It's actually a lot darker, well, a little darker. It just doesn't have the glare. Um, we're almost done with this, and I will show you in the next clip. And here is the next clip. Obviously there's a lot more finished to this. The greens were added in, starting from darker to lighter, just to get the feel of the foliage coming out of the shadows. The shadows were also added, a little more stated, but for the most part, um, not all that much detail. A lot of it's just big form. So I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you all soon. Bye now.